If you don't know, I go live every Thursday night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this weekly live. Uh, there's a couple things I want to talk about, just kind of get off my chest. So yesterday's video, I just showed a highlight clip from an old conversation me and Dan Catchmall Collectibles had about 2 years ago talking about Metazoo. And I feel like some people thought like that video was supposed to be like a shot at Dan. It wasn't. It was just literally the video before. I had quoted that video multiple times. If you go on my channel, I have a lot of like different channel highlights. It's something that I was doing pretty actively for a while. And I just, for whatever reason, stopped doing it. And I thought like, okay, that's a great channel highlight. It really feeds into like a lot of the conversations that are going on. It wasn't a poke at Dan or anything like that. So me and Dan were texting privately. I'm not really sure why people take it sometimes the way they do. I think there is a there's a group of hate watchers that do exist though, and to be honest with you, like I have never been right, never will be right about anything ever. And I just think that it's sometimes when people there's just like a lot of hate watchers that just that. I will never be right about anything. And the fact that I might have been right about a topic probably really like ate a hole in some people because I was pretty negative towards Metazoo for a while. And one of the other reasons I made that video was because I was seeing like offhanded comments by people, and people don't really mention names, but people were saying stuff like, I'm seeing a lot of content creators that never make content about Metazoo, never talked about Metazoo. Now they're talking about Metazoo, and I'm like, well, I have talked about Metazoo, so I just want to like kind of put that out there as I have been critical towards Metazoo for a while now. It's not just a new thing. It's not just a dancing on the grave type thing. So I just want that to be out there. But speaking of never being right too, PSA lowered their grading costs for the month of February. And if you've been watching this channel the last couple of videos, that's something I told you I've been waiting for. I've been waiting to see if prices drop for the month of February and on February 1st. And PSA did drop their price. They only dropped it $1. So it went from $15 to $14. So maybe that's not as big of a drop as a lot of people were hoping for. I think a lot of people were really hoping for, at least me personally, I was hoping for $2. I was hoping to see $13. We got to see 14. I held off on sending about 50 cards. I saved myself like $50. So I'm not gonna knock $50. I just wish it was 100. That's all. But I mean, it's good that these grading card companies are going down still. We just don't want to see a thing where they start going up again. And right now, PSA's advertised turnaround time was like 30 business day for the TCG bulk special of $13.99. So 30 business days. That's solid. So really, that means you're probably going to get your cards back more realistically. It's going to be before those 30 business days. So probably you're more looking at about a month. So it's pretty good. I don't feel great tonight. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm just a little congested. But I did open up, if you can see down in the corner, I don't know if you can see it, but I did open up a Pokemon Center ETB of Paldean Fates. I don't hate the set. I think a lot of people didn't like the set. I like it because it has a Mimikyu in it. If after actually opening it, I did change my feelings a little bit. Like usually I enjoy opening packs. This could just be very anecdotal. This could just be me. I didn't really enjoy the pack opening experience for Paldean Fates. And I was just, to be honest with you, I was more excited for that ETB because I think that's the best ETB artwork Pokemon has ever made. Ever. I know that is a hot take, but I love Mimikyu as a Pokemon. He's one of my favorite Pokemons. The ETB artwork, even holding it in person, it's a darker purple than I was expecting. I liked it even better. The promo, I'm hit or miss on, but I still wanted to open up one because I want to try the grade 1 of the Pokemon Center stamp promos in a 10. This is my promo I got right here, and it's got good centering. The only problem is it has like one corner, but it's not I think it's got a shot at a 10. So I was actually pretty surprised by it. Like, centering left to right's a little off, but I mean I'm being super picky at this point. I think it's got a shot at a 10. But if I can hit one of these Pokemon Center stamp promos, the Mimikyu at a 10, I'll be happy. That's all I need. I don't even need the regular promo at this point. But I want to open up. If you guys have any questions in the chat, I think you want to talk about. I know some people are talking about Metazoo still. The more I sit back, the more I think about Metazoo. It's kind of in the title of this video. It's like, the more you learn, the more people realize they don't know. I think there's just so much stuff right now going on behind the scenes of Metazoo. And I've already heard the rumors that Bandai is potentially acquiring Metazoo. I find that hard to believe. Like, it's weird too. There's a lot of people like super excited about the thought of Bandai acquiring Metazoo. Metazoo is kind of already dead. Like, I hate to be that guy. Like, I understand all the news is going on right now, but Metazoo was already a dead TCG. They were dead. Like, booster box prices had already started crashing. Print runs were already, like, way too high than they should have been. The management was already pretty shitty. The Discord group was already, like, more or less locked down. So, I don't know. I just think people were way too... I don't know. I think they just they want something that's not there. Bandai's not going to come and save Metazoo. It's just not worth it for them. If you're going to invest all that money in a TCG, I don't see the point of acquiring. I would just rather take a known IP like Bandai did with One Piece and just go run with that. I don't see a future of Metazoo. Sorry, it is what it is. I think my camera is floating down. Let's see this. Oops. I think my camera is fucked. Look, it's like slowly drifted down. Do you see this? Like, oh well. Maybe it'll stop eventually. I gotta fix that. I gotta tighten the things, but I don't want to do it right now. But, no, I think... Listen, Metazoo had its day. Their day's over. It's going to move on. It's a good lesson for a lot of people. I don't think people will really learn from it. I think people are already invested in Kickstarter TCGs again because I think they see what the original hype behind Metazoo did, what those original Kickstarter booster boxes started selling for. I think they're seeing the success that Sorcery's having right now, especially the alpha sorcery stuff is going crazy, and they're investing again in another Kickstarter TCG, hoping to stock out and make a lot of money. Sorcery's still doing pretty good for the alpha. The beta stuff is already starting to drop a little bit. I'm nervous about Sorcery TCG because they're only going to do one main expansion per year. And one of the deaths of card games is just people that want to be actively engaged in it, but when you're not actively acquiring new stuff, when it's just one single set, I don't think it's enough to keep people's interest long enough. I think that is a problem that Sorcery has going for it right now. And I don't know. It is what it is. What the is going on with this camera? This camera is fucked. I don't even know how to fix it. It just keeps dropping. Watch where my hands are. I'm just gonna keep them level. Huh. Whatever. This is gonna be a long live. Like I said, I'm not feeling great anyway, so let's see. Pokemon Breeder Max says, after all the 151 I opened, the hit rates on Paldean Fates were enjoyable, even if most hits were Baby Shinens. Yeah, so I don't even know, where are my hits? So, I don't know. I hit a couple duplicates of Noivern. The Gilmora was my full art shiny. It's just, I don't know. I was excited about the set. I thought Paldean Fates wasn't that bad, but I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't a great feel to it. Alright, I'm going to scroll up to the top of the chat. I want to keep this one pretty short. This might be like a 20-minute long live. I'm not lying. So you got number one mod in the game, Drew. Good to see you. John Powline said, first, like always, yeah. Uh, yeah. So Kevin Clare said, Metazoo is the talk of the town. I mean, wasn't there supposed to be a Pawn Stars with Gary? I think that's still going to happen. So Gary said that they haven't filmed it yet, but they're in the plans to sign it. Like, Gary's already signed the contracts to be on Pawn Stars. And if you guys don't know, like, when Gary went on and sold his original... Well, sold. When he went on to try to sell his original Charizards, when he had the asking price for $500,000, and it was about $100,000 more than really market, and he didn't want to sell those. Like, he had a contract in place, you know, mainly for his likenesses, but non-disclosure agreements, stuff like that. But Gary did bring out a Metazoo uncut sheet of the sample cards. So if you guys remember, the sample cards are the ones that they had originally sent out to original content creators. They ended up selling for crazy high premiums for a little bit. So he has a complete, like, uncut sheet of that. And I don't know. People are talking about, like, there's no way it's going to happen. I think there's a good chance that happens. And so one of the things, too, you got to remember about Pawn Stars is Gary's friends with the guy Rick, the main guy, the bald guy. And then Gary's super friendly with Chumley. Like, they got each other's numbers. When I was at the Charlotte Collecticon, I was waiting for a ride. Shout out to Jumbo Fitz. Jumbo Fitz gave me a ride to the convention center on the second day. But on the second day, while I was standing there, Gary walked by me, was like, hey, PK, you need a ride to the convention center? I said no. And he got in a, like, paid SUV, like a paid-for SUV by Collecticon. And it was him and Chumley were in the SUV. So it would have been pretty cool to drive to the convention with Gary and Chumley, but I was waiting for my ride. So they're super close, him and Chumley. Like, they hang out, they have dinner together, they're friends. I'm sure Gary's probably sold them some Pokemon product in the past, so it's not out of the realm of possible that Metazoo is going to be on Pawn Stars, but just because it's going to be on Pawn Stars, it's not the saving grace of Metazoo either. Like, sorry, it's not. Not too in the not too distant past. Like, Charlie Herlacher was on Pawn Stars selling one of the, like, double print Ghastlies. They came from the Evolution theme decks. So the Evolution theme decks had, there was like the two different theme decks. There was the one that had the Pikachu artwork. There was one that had the Hollow Mewtwo artwork. Because if you know from Evolutions, the Mewtwo, which is like the base set Mewtwo that I have right there, in Evolutions in the pack, it came as a non-hollow. But you could get it with the Cracked Ice Hollow version in the theme decks. And then in those theme decks, because they were psychic theme decks, there was like some weird double printing issues. So Charlie Herlacher had a couple of those Ghastly cards. I'm going to have to keep doing this. Push my camera up. Let me see something. Maybe that will keep it from dropping. Put something underneath it. But, yeah, so there's been other, like, Pawn Stars episodes with Pokemon on it. It's not... Alright, I think I fixed it. I put something underneath the camera to keep it from dropping. Now it's a little too high, but whatever. We're going to leave it like this. Call it. But, yeah, I wouldn't put, like, a Pawn Stars episode past him. Plus the fact that Gary's already, like, signed contracts and stuff. And Chumley was big into Metazoo. I think Chumley was big into all TCGs. Same with Steve Aoki. Like, that whole group, like, hangs together. So, I don't know. It had some big names kind of, like, backing it, but there's just so much to talk about Metazoo. Kevin Clare says, I think Rockstar Games could make Metazoo into something. Bandai probably could too, but it would be a bad buy for them. It's just not worth it for a buy for them. Think about it. What if you were to buy Metazoo and you're a big company? What do you have to gain from it? Like, the amount of hype around Metazoo right now, this is not good hype. This is bad hype of just people pointing at a field card game and saying, don't make the same mistake. People are calling it a rug pull. People are just, look at what happened with the Discord right before the letter came out from Mike Waddell. Like, they shut down the Discord. Metazoo is super, super tainted right now. You would need somebody to come in and really, really overhaul it, and they would have to overhaul it on like a very, very transparent, personal type of way. Like, you would need somebody like me to come in and buy Metazoo. Somebody who's super, super transparent about like everything they're doing. And Bandai is not going to be super, super transparent. There's no face of Bandai. There's nobody talking about like, hey, listen, this was the mistakes that Metazoo made in the past. We're going to ignore all previous Metazoo sets. So from Cryptid Nation First Edition all the way up to Seance or whatever, it's Hello Kitty or whatever their last set was. We're going to ignore all those sets. All those cards will still be playable if you want to play the TCG, but we're not going to go back. We're not going to reprint those. We're going to pretend like those sets didn't even exist. And now our roadmap is only for future sets. And for future sets, they're going to be super, super limited at the very beginning until we get a really good understanding of what the market demand is. So some of these early sets might feel like they're short printed, and we're going to be very transparent with you. There will be no second waves of any of this stuff, and if there are second waves, like, it will be because it's really needed, and there will be discussion, and like a ton of transparency would have to follow anybody taking over Metazoo. Bandai's not that company. They're not. And even a game like Metazoo it can survive for the long term, but it has to be super, super limited. And the problem is anytime you get somebody goes in and buys or creates a game, they're going to eventually get jaded enough, or they're going to get blind enough where they're going to try to do the money grab. And that's what happened with Metazoo. You know, with the original Cryptid Nation First Edition, it was 25,000 booster boxes. So the Kickstarter was 2,500. 10x for the next set, which was the Cryptid Nation, was 25,000 booster boxes. Those booster boxes still to this day are holding a premium for what it was. Those booster boxes are still selling for greater than $100. And I know people are going to hear $100, greater than 100, and say, that's nothing. Metazoo is shit. They're done. They're nothing. But $100 is still good when you have UFO booster boxes selling for $16. And the difference there is between Cryptid Nation First Edition, 25,000 print run, until you get to, you know, your Wilderness, which is a $20 booster box, your UFO, which is now a $20 booster box, which is $30 below partner pricing. Like, people lost their ass on these things. But the difference was those were 100,000 print run booster boxes. So you look at other booster boxes that had tighter print runs. You look at something like a Seance, which had potentially 50,000 booster boxes, 62,000, and you say, well, that Seance booster box is still double the price of a UFO booster box, still double the price of a Wilderness booster box, selling at $40, $45. And again, these are not good prices. But if you kept that print run low enough, they all would have been $100 booster boxes still. But there was a greed factor involved, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. It's always my opinion. But if Metazoo held it back, they held back on the reins. They said, we're not going to just do the money grab. We want to, like, just keep demand in this game. Because by keeping low print runs, what you're doing is you're supporting the secondary market. And you're supporting your collector base and your investor base. Because the collector base says, well, if I pay money to buy this stuff, at least I know my collection's not going to go down. I know people like to get on their high horse and say, well, when you're a collector, it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with just you like it, you collect it. That's not the truth. being a collector, you still don't want to see the stuff you're paying for and acquiring. You don't want to see that shit go to zero. That's just the fact of the matter. And then the investors, when they see low print runs and they see strong market prices, they're more inclined to keep acquiring that stuff. So you need low print runs. The only problem is when the secondary market is making money, you as the company printing that product are not making money. So that is where the disconnect happens. So when they see the secondary market making money, they go, I want a piece of that. These booster boxes are selling for $300 on the secondary market, and we're selling them to partners for $59. Why are we letting the secondary market make all the money? Why? We need to get a piece of this. This is our game. So they ramp up print runs, eventually crush secondary markets, and you don't keep the longevity. And people don't want to hear that, but that's what you need for a game like that. And is it artificial? Yeah, kind of. It really is kind of artificial. But it's needed. I don't know how else to phrase it. Now, Rockstar Games? No. Rockstar Games, no way. Let's see. So Pokey Steve says, currently packing up 215 sleeves to ship to an LGS in the US. Can't wait to tune in. 215 sleeves of what? Let's see. Appreciate you, Zarlurkin92. Brown CLM said, did Dan say if he was going to grade the red ink thing he pulled? Yeah, he's going to grade it. If that card is worth any money, Dan's still in the Metazoo to make a couple bucks. If he can make a couple bucks by grading it, especially if it hits a 10, he will definitely do it. Fresh Tat said, 3 letters that brought down Metazoo, NFT. That helped to bring down Metazoo. You're giving Metazoo way too much credit if you think people even knew that that NFTs existed for Metazoo. To know that NFTs existed in Metazoo, you have to be active on YouTube. You have to be active in their Discord server. There was a large majority of the Metazoo collecting community wasn't really active in Discords. We're active on YouTube channels. We're just standing in line at your collecticons because they want to get their promos and they want to get the artists to sign cards and they just want to open up product. Those people didn't even know that NFTs existed. So I don't think NFT was the downfall of Metazoo, but it definitely hurt Metazoo because NFTs, to me, and this is my opinion again, scream rug pull, scream money grab. I mean, why else do that? It's just artificial. I mean, I just quoted saying doing artificial scarcity, but NFTs are just something completely different. Fresh Tat said, Gary, the guy that Charizard made famous. You can make the argument. Yeah, I was going to say Gary made the Charizard famous. Greaves Collect says, looking forward to the day that PK is no longer sick. I'm waiting for that day too. Having kids, I'm just always sick. Fresh Tat says PK has a dead TCG made a resurrection besides G.I. Joe. There's definitely some TCGs that have definitely maybe not made a resurrection, but they definitely have a strong secondary market collector base. Trying to think of the name of there's a Wizard of the Coast. There's a Wizard of the Coast vampire set. I forget the name of this, what it's called. Jihad Vampire, their Eternal Struggle booster boxes. So if you've never heard of, it's spelled Jyhad. It's an old Wizard of the Coast vampire set. I think it came out in like 93, 94, and it's a dead TCG that I've tried to acquire multiple times at auction. These things don't come up on for auction very rarely. There's a lot of buy it nows for like $150, and I had it for a while. I had that Jihad booster boxes on my watch list. Like, I want to pick up this dead TCG. I want to pick it up at auction. I want to get it for cheap, and I would, once in a while, an auction would come up, and I would bid on it, and it would be me and like 13 other bidders, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are other people wanting this same set as me? So there are some random dead TCGs like Wizard of the Coast Jihad, the Vampire, the Eternal Struggle booster boxes that still, even though it's been dead for so long, it still has like a weird secondary market. So I don't think Fresh Tats that exactly answered your question. I think you're probably asking more like a dead TCG that was completely dead and then completely came back, kind of like a Family Guy type situation. And there's none that, maybe Digimon. I guess Digimon technically was dead and came back, but I wouldn't really say Digimon is a thriving TCG right now. Let's see. Yeah, and did it? I guess the thing about Metazoo I don't understand too is I was watching some Nick Strength of Pokemon. He was saying how much money that Mike Waddell, the creator of Metazoo, said that they made, and like allegedly Metazoo made like $50 million, but I call cap on that. There's no way they made that much money. But even if they made like a few million, it's like, where did the money go? And then the speculation really gets to run rampant there is like, well, if I don't think they were making that much money, but they were making money, where was the money coming from? Well, the money was coming from pre-orders. And if you got money coming from pre-orders and that money is required to make like the next set and not actually like fulfill pre-orders, that means you're just in a way running, at that point, it's called a Ponzi scheme. Like, that's what a Ponzi scheme is. When you're needing money for pre-orders, that money should be going to pay for the pre-orders of the actual set, but instead the pre-orders are going to either pay for sets in the future, or potentially go back and pay for sets that you're already behind on, sets that you've already promised people but you haven't delivered on. So you're actually taking the money now for pre-orders and allocating it to older shit that you should have already pumped out a couple months ago. It's a Ponzi scheme. You're taking money from one person to more or less pay somebody else. And if anything ever comes out at the end of the day where that is what Metazoo was doing, then forget about it. It's game over for Metazoo. Let's see. Jared says, I'm surprised it isn't collapsing faster, but that's a line about the IP. So many copying hard. I'm curious what he's talking about. Kevin Clare said a video game company or animation studio scooping the IP is the only thing that makes sense. It's dead as a cat. It's as dead as a card game. What does a video game company have to acquire Metazoo for? There's nothing behind the Metazoo IP. All they have are cryptids. There are no cryptids that Metazoo exclusively owns. All these cryptids are just in the public domain anyways. If you are a video game company and you are going to make a cryptid-based video game, you don't acquire Metazoo, a name that is already like shit on, a name that already carries with it a lot of baggage. If you're going to make a video game like about cryptids, you don't bring Metazoo into the conversation. You just don't do it. Jay Hardcore Pokemon Collector here said, just threw an offer at a booster box for Metazoo. He'll be a buyer at $20 for a first edition box. Well, there'll be a lot of competition. I'm a buyer for a first edition box even higher than 20 if the opportunity comes. Alright. Anyways, I wish I felt better today. I wish I wasn't so fucking congested. I don't know why I'm always congested, but I am. I'm 30 minutes in. If I felt better, I'd keep going. But there's a lot of things I want to get off my head, too, about Metazoo. I have a list. I actually made a list of stuff I want to talk about, but I'm not going to be able to get to it today. Maybe I'll be able to get to it tomorrow night or Saturday night if I'm feeling better. But listen, guys, appreciate every single one of you guys that tuned in. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'll catch you on the next video. God, I hope I feel better. I'm always fucking sick. Oh, and I'm going to fix my